Good morning to one of all present here. I feel really elated and consider this as my privilege to invite you all to this innovative endeavor of the Department of English in collaboration with the College Library titled Teacher-Librarian Partnership. This program strives to inculcate in students a strong research aptitude and bringing out their potential to present a paper skillfully. This partnership initiated a program called Research Forum, research paper presentation by students. Through this program, selected students will be given an opportunity to hone their presentation skills. Let me invite Ms. M.A. Anja Abdul Kader, who is the program coordinator of the Department of English, to deliver a welcome speech. Ma'am, please.
Good morning, everyone, distinguished guests, and dear students. Welcome to the Research Forum initiated by the Department of English in collaboration with the College Library. I deem it a privilege to welcome Ms. Vinita Davies, our College Librarian, who has been instrumental in rendering tremendous support to our department. This teacher-librarian partnership is undoubtedly an innovative step towards teaching and learning, and her strenuous efforts are indeed commendable. I welcome you, ma'am. We have with us Dr. Betsy Paul, Associate Professor, Research Supervisor, and HOD of Research and PG Department of English of St. Aloysius College, Elthurud. Her experiences and credentials are just tremendous, and we are honored to have her chair this session. I welcome you, ma'am. I welcome our dear presenters.
Thank you.
Maria. I welcome our dear presenters, Ms. Maria James, Ms. Anjali Prasad, and Mr. Shankar Narayanan of 5th semester BA English. Your courage marks a new chapter in the story of your life. This is a new experience to all of you, and I'm sure that you're absolutely ready to face greater challenges, more difficult obstacles, and much harder tasks that will come into your life. I welcome my dear students and faculty members to this gathering, which marks an important event during the formative years of any youth, bringing up the budding research scholars from our department and allowing all of us to improve channels for dynamic interaction and engagement. I welcome you all once again, and may God be with us always. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. I feel really obliged to introduce you to our dear librarian of college, Ms. Vinita Davis V, to deliver the felicitation. Her cheerful disposition and exemplary skills in coordinating the departmental activities with the college library deserves special mention. Ma'am, I invite you to deliver the felicitation.
Leela and Miss Ansha Abdul Kader, coordinator and head of the Department of English, and Dr. Betsy Paul, ma'am, who is the as associate professor and head of the Department of PG Research Department of English, St. Aloysius College, Elthurud, and my dear students and other faculty members of English department. I am very proud and privileged to talk to you today because 2 years back, I wrote a paper on teacher-librarian collaboration during my refresher course. And I have an idea to execute this paper, or the idea of the paper in our college. and I contacted some of the faculties in commerce department and other departments. But I think informally we made many partnership in teacher library collaboration. But I think this one will be the first teacher librarian collaboration or teacher librarian partnership which is formally structured and executed. So I congratulate the faculty members of BA English, especially the student team who stood with their teachers to execute this idea successfully. So one thing I will assure you that this will be a great exposure to you in your studentship. None of us get this opportunity when we are at in the studentship. So try to explore each and every opportunity that we get during the teacher librarian collaboration or any activities conducted by our college during your academic days. Especially this COVID time, the English department is doing commendable job, and with the teamwork of students, you will be more mentored by, it will be the right person to mentor you is Dr. Betsy Paul, because she is the research supervisor for and coordinator of our research department of our college. So you can get more suggestions from her. Anyway, thank you for the opportunity, and I will enjoy the partnership with the teacher library partnership with the English department, and we can come up with more activities future. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. It is my privilege to call upon Dr. Betsy Paul C., who is the Associate Professor, Research Supervisor, and HOD of the Research and the PG Department of English, to preside the program. A kaleidoscope of her academic achievements will constantly inspire and motivate the students to skillfully present their papers for many more years to come. Ma'am, I welcome you to chair the program.
Thank you. I think that I'm not going to talk in the beginning. I want to listen to the presenters. And research as an activity is something that ought to be encouraged in any higher education institution, not just a higher education institution, even in maybe the primary education institutions, because I think it was Picasso who had said that as children, we are all creative. And as we grow up, we learn to control our creativity. So that is not what is needed. Children and students should know what is learning. And once we know what is learning, we realize that learning is not just mugging up something or learning what others said, but to find out things for oneself. And that is why maybe so many years back, in maybe the 3rd century BC Athens, Aristotle had said, learning is a pleasurable activity for all human beings. And this learning is also a production of knowledge. And this production of knowledge comes when you learn, and every one of us are unique in our own ways. And that uniqueness should be expressed when we are expressing our learning and our understanding of the world. And that unique expression of our learning will create newer layers of knowledge, which will generate again further trajectories of knowing. And that is what research is meant to be, which means that we have to read other people. We have to see the world with our own eyes rather than wait and let other people interpret things for us. And for that, I hope this research firm will pave the way, especially because I am very glad that the library club and library and the English department are coming together in this. I have great admiration for both, and I know that you will continue doing great work. And this should be one of the major steps through which you will enlighten our students, and the knowledge creation part because that is what research is about. Research is not just about learning something and compiling data. It is more than that. When you compile this data, you have also to generate new data. And for that, you need originality. And that originality comes from your fearlessness. And fearlessness comes from the readiness to face mistakes or make mistakes, because making mistakes is always something that has been seen as frightening, fearsome for most of us, because we are taught from our very early childhood to do this, to do that, and not to do this, and that not also involves a lot of punishments, either physical or emotional, and those punishments make us slowly, that might be why Picasso had said that as we grow up we tend to lose our creativity. Our creativity is lost. Well, these punishments needn't be direct punishments. It can be the punishment of the society. It can be the punishment of ostracism. It can be the punishment of other people judging us, or the fear of other people judging us. And all these things will curb our understanding of reality. Well, I'm very glad to listen to these presentations. I just went through these papers and they are all very interesting. And okay, let us, I won't take up much of your time now. Let us listen to those presentations first, and then we can comment on those. Let me first and once more congratulate the English department and the library for this great initiative. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for your valuable suggestions and advices. So without wasting time, let's go for the paper presentation. I will call upon Maria James of 5th semester BA English to present her paper on comparison of satire on the pseudoscience of astrology in R.K. Narayan's An Astrologer's Day and Mood Ring by Lord. Maria, the stage is yours.
Okay. Good morning, everyone, respected teachers, as well as my fellow students. I'm Maria James from 5th semester UG English department. Today, I'll be presenting my paper
Maria,
titled...
if it is okay, will you? Yes, we can see you now. Okay, continue.
All right. Today, I'll be presenting my research paper. It's titled Comparison of Satire on the Pseudoscience of Astrology in R.K. Narayan's An Astrologer's Day and Mood Ring by Lord. I'll get straight into it. The abstract section, I'll be discussing the work as well as the writers. R.K. Narayanan, An Astrologer's Day, it's a titular work in his 4th collection of short stories. It's called An Astrologer's Day and Other Stories. It came out in 1947. It is the tale of a fake astrologer whose presence of mind and cool head saves him when an unpleasant part of his past rears its head. Mood Ring is the 11th track as well as 3rd single from pop musician Lord's 3rd album called Solar Power. Mood Ring uses a character to examine as well as expose the unbecoming side of the wellness industry that largely peddles pseudoscience to its middle-class educated white market. Now, this paper aims to analyze as well as provide a comparison for how these two works satirize the pseudoscience of astrology. Before we get into the actual breakdown, according to a definition from the Oxford Languages, satire is the use of humor, irony, exaggeration, or ridicule to expose or criticize people's stupidity or vices, particularly in the context of contemporary politics or other topical issues. Okay, let's start with The Astrologer's Day. This story, it provides a glimpse into all of the unscientific as well as irrational beliefs that were predominant in mid-20th century India, especially among the folks in the villages. We know even today that astrology plays a pretty impactful role in people's lives, from predetermining their natures, their potential, business, marriage prospects, partners, etc. I'll start with the evidence from the text. This fake astrologer uses a lot of paraphernalia. and that's his professional equipment. It consisted of a dozen cowrie shells, a square piece of cloth with obscure mystic chants on it, a notebook, a bundle of Palmyra writing. His forehead was resplendent with sacred ash and vermilion. His eyes sparkled with the sharp, abnormal gleam, which was really an outcome of continual searching look for customers, but which his simple clients took to be a prophetic light and felt comforted. This is the opening of the story An Astrologer's Day, and straight into it, the author goes in with satire as well as plain exposition to show how the astrologer is one, a fake astrologer, as well as how people are comforted by the presence of these fake astrologers. Over here, the astrologer uses all of this paraphernalia to legitimize his practice of this trade, as well as to create the right kind of ambiance for his client. These aforementioned methods and tactics, they're all used to garner attention as well as to generate trust. But all of these attention to the details and aesthetics it's merely just a means to attract the client. His success as an astrologer, that comes purely from his ability to read people as well as situations and his capacity to optimally market himself and his trade in the subtlest manner possible. We see further in the text, and I quote, "Yet he said things which pleased and astonished everyone. That was more a matter of study, practice, and shrewd guesswork. He," and I quote again, "had a working analysis of mankind's troubles, marriage, money, and the tangle of human ties. Long practice had sharpened his perception. Within 5 minutes, he understood what was wrong. He charged 3 pice per question, never opened his mouth till the other had spoken for at least 10 minutes, which provided him with enough stuff for a dozen answers and advices." Some of his typical answers include, "In many ways, you are not getting the fullest results for your efforts." Or, "Is there any woman in your family, maybe even a distant relative, who is not well disposed towards you?" Or, "Most of your troubles are due to your nature. How can you be otherwise, with Saturn where he is?" All of his vague explanations, it draws forth a lot of satisfaction from his clients, and that is exposed in the textbook. It is a blatant use of, using the stars, the celestial bodies, to justify as well as pacify the human need, the human condition to be understood, to understand themselves and what's going on around them. And the author exposes this thoroughly, with the astrologer making up all of his answers purely from guesswork. But the author also notes that these explanations are enough to satisfy all of the customers. Again, as we know in the story, the astrologer's old friend, Guru Nayak, was a man who he had stabbed once when they were both drunk. Although the man is skeptical at first, Nayak comes to believe all of what the astrologer says due to his inclusion of specific details. But what the astrologer does with this trust, once it is gained, is what truly reveals the nature of this nefarious profession. He immediately exploits the man's trust and feeds his estranged friend a satisfying story to quench all of his thirst for vengeance. And this is a lie told out of self-interest, and it manages to save his life that day. Let's move to the song Mood Ring. It is by the musical artist Lord. It is in the popular music genre, and it is a satire on the latest explosion of Western interest in wellness practices, which is most of the time an appropriation or misrepresentation of typically Eastern cultural as well as social practices. What the song does is it manages to diagnose all of the uninformed, out of touch, typically upper middle class Westerners who are coping with life and the world using pseudoscience as well as fantastical explanations. The song employs the voice of a character to explore the psyche of someone who buys into all of the claims of this wellness industry. But let's understand the title first. The mood ring was an actual physical object, a product. It was created in 1975 and it was popularized in the early 2000s. There is a thermochromic or temperature sensitive element in it, which changes its color according to the marketing gimmicks, depending on the mood of the wearer. Here it's yet another manifestation of consumerism or capitalism, which is masquerading as the solution to several of the problems that in fact it had created. And this itself is an element in Lord's criticism of the song. The mood ring, the actual product, represents a part of childhood for people like her, people who are in the millennial generation. It's a representation of better times, of childhood, of nostalgia. And in this song, it is the phrase mood ring is used as a catch-all term to describe every tool used by people, especially of the millennial generation, to examine and understand how they feel at a given point. This includes mainly astrology, but also horoscopes, crystals, etc. Let's move on to the evidence from the song. The song directly emphasizes the importance or the emphasis on astrology in its line, Pluto in Scorpio generation. This is a line or a phrase used to refer to the millennial generation according to astrology. And this song seeks to define this entire generation that way because it's precisely how millennials, especially in the West, are defining themselves. The chorus goes, I can't feel a thing. I keep looking at my mood ring. Tell me how I'm feeling. Floating away, floating away. The character in the song, they embody all of the ways that a superficial fad such as this one can harm people actively. This person is unable to feel or discern anything unless the mood ring specifies and tells them what to feel about things. The reliance on this mood ring to tell them how they're feeling, it shows an unhealthy dependence on this object, which represents, of course, the pseudoscience of astrology. This clearly generates a feeling of apathy as well as a lack of introspection. The last line of the chorus indicates and shows the detachment that the character has developed towards life. Yet another line from the song, take me to some kind of place, anywhere. This exposes the character's lack of self-reflection, lack of as well as feelings of resignation. All of these come into sharp focus in these above lines. These people drift through life, they do not know what they want, and they use wellness practices as merely temporary distractions from all of the negative thoughts. And the last line in the second verse, it goes, let's fly somewhere eastern. They'll have what I need. This also highlights the aspect of the wellness industry, which is fueled by cultural appropriation as well as misrepresentation. The East is viewed through a very oriental lens, an exotic land that Westerners get to dip in and out of and make use of all of these cultural, traditional folk practices. The music video for the song also emphasizes this point by having mostly a white crowd lounge about in Native American teepees, who are a people whose lives, beliefs, and concepts have constantly been trivialized, misrepresented, and after that sold as products. In conclusion, both An Astrologer's Day as well as Mood Ring offers critiques of the groundless claims made by astrology. They expose the condition of the people who are taken in by it. In An Astrologer's Day, the man Guru Nayak feels comforted by learning the terrible fate that befell his old friend. The crooked astrologer finds closure after having fled his old village, after having stabbed his friend. The author takes the role of a truth teller in the story. He exposes the ease with which the astrologer fabricates explanations for all of his customers. And the second point is that he exposes the desire for money that motivates this man. This brings the astrologer down to the plane of a regular human person, not some profound sage with deep insight into the meaning of the stars. In Mood Ring, Lord sings of a person who can't feel a thing and relies on astrology, horoscopes, or mood rings to tell them how to feel about life. The satire and criticism here are aimed at the educated as well as the privileged. Those who turn to such practices for easy solutions to life's nuances as well as difficulties. The criticism on the character is because they rely on magical thinking to solve their decidedly real life problems. The intake of products and services spawned by the wellness trend, however, does little to abate the numbness or the dilemmas faced by the character. They feel detached and paranoid simultaneously. An astrologer's day focuses more on the irony of the situation. A fake astrologer gets by selling fabrications to a public that does not know any better. This new form of livelihood was adopted after fleeing his home, but fate brings him face to face with whoever he wanted to see the least. Um, the author sheds light on the poor fools who subscribe to such beliefs, but the criticism is targeted more at the pseudoscience as well as the money hungry fake astrologer. Mood Ring focuses more on the inner world of someone who buys into all of the claims of the wellness industry. It centers mostly on the less than satisfactory experience that goes against all of the claims and the aesthetics of the fad, as well as the foolish client who is the main target of the joke. However, the last three lines does reveal some empathy and compassion for the character. It goes, watch the sunset, look back on my life. I just want to know, will it be all right? Take me to some kind of place, anywhere. Finally, I'd like to conclude by saying that, according to my analysis, the post Enlightenment West, with all of its claims and ideals of rationality, of inheriting the classical Greek tradition, ironically, they regress to the same thoughts as the lands they once claimed intellectual as well as moral superiority over. Whatever the grounds of imperialism were, they have now shifted into a fad under capitalism as well as sustained cultural ignorance. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Maria, for that wonderful presentation. And I invite Betsy ma'am to give her valuable suggestions and advices on Maria's paper presentation. Please, ma'am.
Okay, Maria, it was a very good presentation, and I'm so glad that you brought in this sort of a very original sort of a comparison, because who would have ever thought Arkanarayan and our old Arkanarayan be compared to Lord's music, the millennial music of the contemporary teen? Oh well, that that is originality, and that is what I talked about when, or maybe that is what Picasso too might have meant when he said that all children are born artists, and the problem is to remain an artist as we grow up, because well, you have this artistic capability of bringing in very different elements of lived experience together into a one platform that you have done. Now the task before you is to remain a child, remain having the child's mentality of openness, of understanding, of curiosity, and the mentality to play with things, play with ideas, play with knowledge. Okay, so that much about the comparison. So that idea, well, I hope that you got your syllabus, and you know that your thesis usually in a UG program, the thesis is usually marked based on originality, methodology, organization, and viva. And the originality, I will give you, well, almost full marks. It is good, this sort of a comparison. And the relevance too is good. What is your actual statement, actual thesis? Can you say something more about it, Maria? What is your problem, research problem?
My main aim here was to compare two different works set in two different times, written with two entirely different purposes, but that possess the same theme. I also wanted to focus on who was being made fun of, as in who was being satirized, and why they were satirizing it, as well as the kind of conditions that led to the specific satire.
Okay, good. And okay, you have focused on the term satire. So, good. and also on astrology, because the astrology or something related to it are the basic themes in these two works. No? But then I have another question, that is, one work is a novel,
It's a
the
short
other is
story.
a song.
Ah,
So
yes.
why have you combined these two together, or what is your basis or foundation of comparison?
I chose these two works specifically. One was a short story, the other was a song. Both are short form content, which I was happy with. And the second basis is they focus on the same theme, but they approach it very differently. Arkanarayan's criticism, even though both people criticize the actual pseudoscience of it, the criticism on the target of the criticism, one was the fake astrologer, but also the poor people for having believed in it. The Lord's criticism is centered on the entitled people who are taking advantage of other people, as well as, but she also shows a lot of empathy for the people, even if they are taken in by it, even if they are fools. I found that interesting. I wanted to see how, the lens of satire has changed. And, there's been a gap of 70 years between these works. I want to see how it's interesting now.
Okay, and what about your methodology? What are the methods? What are have you used any theoretical frameworks? Because you are doing a comparison and you're a literature student and you have studied literary theory too along with this. So, have you used any literary theoretical framework in order to compare these two, or have you just summarized these two works and thought about astrology? Because research is that too. Research is, on one thing, it is originality. It is an original combination. Originality or creativity always involves a combination of uh, here till now, what is till now not thought about. But at the same time, and you can combine so many extremely heterogeneous elements in a creative sort of a atmosphere, in a creative mindset. At the same time, once you do that comparison, you being a literature student, you are also someone who is supposed to do that comparison using literary tools and theoretical tools too. I'm not frightening you. I know that you have just
No,
started
it's
your
not.
literary career or again career in your research. At the same time, this is how we have to do it, which means you have to find out some theoretical texts. For one thing, you have to find out, which I didn't find in your bibliography or work cited. You have to take some critical works on R.K. Narayan. Lord, I don't know whether there are critical works about her lyrics, because you have chosen the lyrics and you have concentrated more on the lyrics, no? Rather than the
Yes.
song as such, have you? Because it's a very
Mostly
beautiful
lyrics.
video,
Ah,
and the
mostly lyrics.
song element. The song element too is very captivating. All these elements, when you talk about a song is not its lyrics alone. The lyrics are important, but there are so many other extraneous elements like the music, like the video part of it, like the
Mm.
way it is being sung. And all these are to be analyzed when you're analyzing a song. In the same way, in uh, analyzing fiction, you have to analyze all these various aspects of fiction writing, which we use in our literature classes. Like you have questions when you're learning a story. Usually, when you go for the exam, you will have questions like characterization, theme. Okay, more than that, what is the structure? Hmm? What is the style? So you have to use those tools too. And when we talk about theoretical tools, you can very easily use the particular theory of Orientalism. You had almost brought out some ideas about concerning that in your paper. So you should definitely have mentioned that particular text. You know who wrote Orientalism?
No, no.
It is Orientalism is a 1978 book written by Edward Said, and it is a very famous work in post-colonial theory. Now, your comparison is actually a sort of a looking back. You have another work called The Empire Looks Back, or rather, we are looking at the empire too. So, we are looking at the Westerner. But here in astrologer's story, or in Arkanarayan's story, or in Lord's song, there is no such perspective. But at the same time, we find that there is that particular line in the song where going to some place is to an eastern place, and that eastern place, yes, does that place exist? That's the question. Is there such an east? We know that we live in east, and when we look around, do we find that sort of a place, that sort of a fantastic, spiritual, elevating world? Do we find that around us? Or else, where is this place? And you have also used Lord's own interpretation video in your presentation. And when you do that again, and that is another part of the methodology, don't just say that as your own interpretation, because Lord herself had made that interpretative video, no? About
Yes,
the song. So when you say that, you have to acknowledge that she said this and put on quote marks and say work cited, because otherwise it will be, even though you are saying it innocently, it will be counted as plagiarism. So you have to think about that too, and think about a theoretical framework like Orientalism. You can use some of the theories that Edward said talked about. You can also later, if you're that much into it, because that will be tough for you, but still later in your higher studies, you can use Terry Eagleton and his understanding about God. Terry Eagleton had talked about how the spirituality has survived, or God, the understanding of God has survived. The craving for God and spirituality has survived in spite of the Enlightenment rationalities. So you can use those texts, and you need to understand all that, or you can't read through the whole text these days. But you can go through the Wikipedia article, what these people are saying. You can go through I'm giving you some practical tips, because you can't read the original text unless you are that much of a dedicated scholar. Okay, that takes a lot of time, of course. But as a UG student, you can just go through the Wikipedia article of these two persons. Edward Said and the post-colonial critic Edward Said and the British critic Terry Eagleton. What they said about the God principle, about Orientalism, about the way in which the Orient is being created, etc., etc. I think I am taking too much of the time, but Maria, your paper was so scintillating, so that I needed to say all these things. Then about organization. Okay, you have organized the whole thing well, but again, not a negative comment, but at the same time, there should be in the introduction, there's some sort of a introduction to your methodology. As we had said, you can put in some of these literary tools, which you can continue using. Analyze these works using the literary tools and also the tools from music. What are the ways of why that green color is used in that video? How even the very voice of Lord is increasing, or is giving the sort of a special background to the whole poem, so that it becomes all the more captivating. And then also there is what is called that toxic positivity.
Nice.
Which is again something that astrology gives us, or any other sort of pseudo spirituality gives us, because we are always told that okay, everything will be all right, when we are living in the very hell itself, and we know that there are so many things which cannot be all right by any practical means. Okay, when we are in the extreme desperation, maybe it might be our last straw to say that everything will be all right, but we have to accept reality, we have to accept life, and we have to go forward with such great strength. Okay, and that may be something that is projected by the song, and maybe that is why the song is so popular with the millennials, I think. Okay, you may have differences of opinion about that still. Okay, that is why I like the song. It is resistance against toxic positivity, and at the same time allows us to be ourselves. allows us to be depressed, allows us to be uh, in a reality that has no solution at all, and
Yes,
still
yes, ma'am.
continue. Yes, you want to say something more, Maria?
No, I agree with you. I agree with you.
You like it? Okay, okay then. I think I will stop here for now because otherwise others won't get
Yes,
space.
ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, then all the more congratulations and all the best, Maria, that you have a great career in researching.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am, for your valuable suggestions and advices. Next, I call upon Anjali Prasad M. of 5th semester BA English to present her paper on words against the norms of the society in an introduction by Kamala Das. Anjali, the stage is yours.
Good morning, ma'am. Just a moment, I would like to present my screen. Please respond if it's not visible. Can you see it?
Yes,
Yes, Anjali.
yes, yes.
Oh, thank you. So, good morning, everyone. Respected teachers and all my dear friends. Myself,
Just a
Anjali
moment. Can we
Prasad.
see your face first, Anjali?
Yeah, sure, ma'am. I'm sorry. Hi, ma'am. I'm sorry, when the screen starts
It's
sharing,
okay.
my video will get off.
Hi. Okay, good. It's nice to see your face first, and then we will talk about the presentation. Okay, good.
Okay, ma'am.
Yes. Yes, please continue with your presentation. I'm sorry I
Okay, thank
interrupted
you,
you.
ma'am.
You were
No,
so
ma'am. Yeah,
passionate
sure.
about the presentation. Yes, please continue.
I'm so sorry, there seems to be some interruption. Okay. Uh, my name is Anjali Prasad. I'm a fifth semester student pursuing BA English Language and Literature. My research paper is on the topic Words Against the Norms of the Society in An Introduction by Kamala Das. My research paper aims to explore the society assigned gender roles to both males and females. The theme is extracted from the poem An Introduction by Kamala Das. She was an Indian English writer who expressed her own life through her words. The poem was published on 1965 as a part of her collection Summer in Calcutta. In the poem, she talks about her mental and emotional state as she fights against the patriarchal society. Now, onto my research paper. If one tiny seed can grow up to be a powerful oak tree, why does the world demean and criticize the ones who tend to differ from the society assigned term normal? Humans created a plethora of words to differentiate and place the objects with various characteristics under different categories because they're scared of the unknown and are stubborn to accept the changes which may occur later on. Fear of the unknown have made the society to constrict themselves to the society assigned terms. In their view, one small change in the system leads to chaos, but they try to destroy this change rather than embracing it. Leela Alcorn was an American transgender girl who suicided at the young age of 17 due to how the society pressured her to follow the norms. Similarly, Blake Brockington was an American transgender man whose suicide attracted international attention as he was the first transgender male who won homecoming king in North Carolina. All these people were human beings who wanted to lead a normal life, but just because of the fact that they did not fit into an assigned box, they were harassed. They stood against the norms of the society, and this led to them being ostracized. In the poem An Introduction, Kamala Das poses this particular question through 6 lines. These are her words. Her words, it contains a meaning that stands out among the individuals who wants to stand outside the norms of the society. Her words also portray the truth hidden behind the word belong when they are used to categorize humans. These 6 lines convey a meaning that may create havoc in the minds of some, but still bring peace to the minds of the young who is being held in the cages of restriction. Society often confuses the terms sex and gender. Sex is what an individual is assigned at birth, while gender is what the individual wants to follow as they grow up. There are certain characteristics that males and females must follow in order to fit into the society norms. One step outside the box leads to taunts, derogatory words, bullying, and ostracizing. In October 2018, V. Kalayarasan, a 24-year-old resident of Chennai, committed suicide, distressed for being teased and taunted by his followers on TikTok for dressing up as a woman. Even though he dressed according to the so-called norms of the society, after this particular video, he was still bullied. His only fault was believing that the society would be accepting. The world that screams equality and freedom for everyone must open their eyes to witness the inequality and restrictions placed on each individual. Cross-dressing. It can be defined as men wearing feminine clothes and women wearing masculine clothes. The image produced when women and men act and dress like that of opposite sex is considered atrocious and unacceptable. A few centuries back, female wearing male clothing were considered to be a taboo. But in the present society, females wearing masculine clothes are considered to be quite normal, and they are referred to as having a tomboyish character. Although society have a positive response relatively to females wearing male clothes, they react a bit wildly if men were to dress as a woman. From the ancient time, the clothing of male and female emphasize the roles they play in the society. Females should be symbolic of love and care, and their appearance must be ladylike, kind, and soft. Women are meant to be interested in cooking or clothing, while men showing interest in these fields are considered to be less masculine. All these notions of the society must be taken away so that everyone would feel like they belong to the community rather than an outcast. Every child is brought up with these norms surrounding them. Even though everyone may not follow the stereotypical gender roles, many of these roles get internalized into the minds and become a proportion of their identity. The definition of men and women are closely connected to their appearance, but over time, these definitions have changed and have accepted several differences. But the most basic fact of being masculine and feminine have not yet undergone many changes. Men are stereotyped to be the physical strength, while females are stereotyped to be the emotional one. From toys to movie characters, these stereotypes follow the flow of the world. Trans society is facing a lot of struggle because of the fact that they do not want to fit a box. Similarly, many in the LGBTQ community did not have the courage to walk out in the skins they felt comfortable. Most are disowned by their own families and they receive negative and harsh treatments from the society. Several groups have been created to support the LGBTQ community, which led to reduced suicide rates, and many were given the support to be who they feel like they were meant to be. These communities provided the hope their families and friends were meant to provide. Gender stereotypes have led to many cases that results in violation of human rights and fundamental freedom. After being the victims of sexual abuse, many women are denied their justice due to the reason that they may have agreed to the physical abuse or sexual act, as the society states that they were not dressing and behaving modestly while they are out in public. Dressing style of women do not give any sort of right to the people in the society to behave in an uncouth manner. Girls are often asked to learn cooking, not because it may be useful to her when she starts living independently or may have to move abroad for her studies or profession, but because of the fact she is to be married into another house, so one should learn cooking in order to please the in-laws. No matter how much the society is considered to be modern-minded, these stereotypes will always be dumped on females and males. Humans want to place each and everyone in a box, but if the world considered to box every beings, then humans would be the first one who would be out of the box, as they are the beings who destroy the world while all others conserve it. Many would point out how the world has changed and is accepting everyone. But can that be said about each and every individual? Somewhere, a gay child might be hiding so his parents would not throw him out and his friends would not bully him. A trans female must be dying inside a body in which he was born into but is forced to stay inside. A boy might be crying because he has a frail body than a bulky one. All these people to survive in this world, but once 2 or 3 individuals are accepted, society believes that every individual is accepted. Famous celebrities who belong to LGBTQ community have tried to spread light on bullying and abuses they had to face. People may listen attentively to this topic and speak against these actions, but once a situation arises in their own life, these words would turn into knives and they would stab these knives into the ones who felt brave to come out. Holding parades, making awareness videos, educating the public can help the society to look at things with a different perspective. Leading the beacon of hope often encourages others to come up with their own stories and spread hope. Kamala Das, through her poem, brought this small change which survived the tides of time and still create an effect on the minds of people. Hashtags may leave once the trend is gone, but the stories everyone shares can create a small difference. And with that, I conclude. Thank you.
Thank you, Anjali, for that elegant presentation. And next I invite Betsy ma'am to voice her suggestions and opinions on Anjali's presentation. Ma'am, please.
Anjali, congratulations. You have compiled a real lot of information
Thank you.
about gender and transgenders and the condition of different sexualities. Okay, that is a commendable, really commendable work. And it is good that you have taken up Kamala Das's poem, which so many years before her time, and gender was not that much discussed among academia, Kamala Das had written this work. And that was her energy, or maybe that is why we call poets as prophets. They understand the spirit of the times and spirit of the future too. Okay, good. Now I would again like to talk about certain basic aspects as given by your syllabus. Okay, originality, you have taken this up, and this is a contemporary theme which is being discussed these days a lot. And when you're taking up such a theme, you have to concentrate more on the methodology and have to look at what exactly is it that you're searching. Okay, because this is a research paper, and there is a slight difference between a research paper and an essay. In an essay or even in a talk, it is very interesting to listen to so much of information based on one topic, and that sort of a plurality excites the listener. If you are taking a class, you'll be a very favorite teacher of your students because you have brought in so many ideas, so many examples from real life. But a research paper is slightly different. In a research paper, what you have to do is you have to be more focused. You have to have what is called a research question. And you have to look at the variable answers to that question and form a conclusion or an answer to that question on your own. Is it clear? Okay, like, okay, you have, in this paper, you have given so many examples of transgender suffering. Maybe one person you left out, I think, was Ananya, who committed suicide recently in Kerala. The first transgender. Okay, you know her too. Okay, that is why I said you have collected so much of material. You have such a lot of know-how. You have a lot of information about this. That is very good, because that is the first step in any research. The next step is to frame a question, a research question, and to find out an answer for that question. So what is your
Ma'am?
Yes, I think she was, she left the meet. Ma'am? Yeah. Yes. Yes, ma'am, you're visible. Ma'am? Ma'am, you're not audible now, ma'am. Ma'am, you're not audible.
Now am I audible? I have
Yes,
muted
yes.
myself.
Yes. Now you're audible, ma'am. Yes.
I don't know what happened to my my devices. Somehow they don't work today. Okay, anyway. Anjali, will you continue?
Yes, ma'am. I didn't hear your question actually. By that time, the
Okay.
audio.
Okay,
So,
sorry. What exactly was you searching for in this research paper?
ma'am, my main aim was to actually point out the gender stereotypes, and I thought bringing the LGBTQ community will help it in a way, because they are also being
Mm-hmm.
kind of ostracized from the society, and they are also asked to follow certain norms, to fit
Okay,
certain
okay,
boxes.
good.
So,
But was the issues that everyone knows, no? Or not everyone, so many people don't know. So if it came in a newspaper or if it came in a magazine as an article, maybe people will be aware of it, about these general things. But then you as a literature student, you are doing a particular research and you have used a particular text in order to do that research too. A literary creative work. Kamala Das's poem. Okay. So why have you taken Kamala Das's poem and what are you trying to ask? What question are you trying to ask to that poem? Or
okay.
considering that poem, are you asking a question? That is how we do our research. That is the first step in, after collecting all this information. That is the first step in with which you start your research.
Okay, ma'am.
So is it,
So the main reason why I chose the poem was once I read it and saw those lines, I felt like it was something. Even though it was published in 1965, it is still a relevant topic. And
yeah.
the main question which I felt was that it's still prevailing in our society. Though no matter what we
Mm.
say, how much our society has changed, that issue still prevails in our society. So I thought I'll take it from a critical point of view and inform the readers, and then give them ways to actually solve the issues. So it's not actually a question related topic, but more actually a critical viewpoint with a bit of changes and pointing out the issues in our society, or how many are affected by it.
Okay, Anjali, good. But I appreciate your need to find a solution. But with literature, the problem is that we are not here to give solutions. Solutions are given by sociologists, maybe, or politicians, and the wrong solutions that they thrust on us determine our fate. But we literary people, or we people who are dealing with literature, what we are doing is that we are trying to analyze particular situations and ask questions like Socrates, maybe, who had asked these questions and made other people think about the solutions. Okay, so you are asking a question about, you need to ask a question about this particular text. And then maybe, okay, you have, in a way, you have answered this question by giving so many illustrative examples about how transgenders are suffering even today. So Kamala Das's idea still is relevant. That is okay. But you still have to go further from that. That is material for a newspaper article or a magazine article. Beyond that, when you're asking a question, it is very simple. You just ask a question. How is Kamala Das portraying um, maybe gender? There are very powerful theoretical works like Judith Butler's Understanding of Gender Performativity, Gender Performativity. But that is a very difficult text at your standard to read. I'm just making suggestions. Okay, don't worry too much about this, but still it will help you to read the Wikipedia article on Judith Butler and what is gender performativity. Okay, but then a
Okay,
much
ma'am.
more simpler but classic text, which you need to look at if you are ever going to analyze a poem like Kamala Das's introduction is Simone de Beauvoir. Simone de Beauvoir's The Second Sex, which you might have heard of and you might have studied a little bit about in your criticism paper. No?
Yes, ma'am.
Have you?
Yes, ma'am. Right now we are actually dealing with it. It's over.
Yes, good. Okay, that is exactly what you have to do. You have to take up one theory, and this methodology, this dissertation or a project for the UG course is designed so that you will be expert in analyzing a particular text using theories, using literary tools and theories. So you can analyze this text also using Simone de Beauvoir's text. Simone de Beauvoir in her Second Sex. It's a very thick book, but it's written in very simple language. It was originally written in French, but then it was translated into English too, and in very simple language. If you read it, you will understand it very clearly. And it is available on the net too. Online, it is freely available. So you just search for it, and you can take up some aspects of what is a woman and what is a man, what is male and what is female, according to society, as Simone de Beauvoir analyzes it, and how she talks about one is not born as a woman, or that gender is something that is thrust on oneself. All these issues are being dealt with there. So if you are doing this sort of research, you shall do this. You can take this theory. You can also look at Judith Butler's theory and then analyze the text, and from the text go to the examples. So if you are dealing with Kamala Das's poem, just take up the text, read every line, and then look at that line and see whether this line corresponds to Simone de Beauvoir's theory. Simone de Beauvoir's understanding of what constitutes a female, or how femininity is thrust on human beings by society. Okay, that is how you should analyze it. I'm not criticizing it, but this is the way in which a research is to be done. Clear? And
yes, ma'am.
And once you do that, it will be much more interesting. You can reduce some of these illustrations, because here you have given greater importance to the term gender. You have talked a lot about transgender rather than about female and feminine. And so maybe you can analyze it based on Judith Butler's theory too. But as I told you, Judith Butler is slightly more difficult for you at your stage to read in the original form. You can ask your supervisor's help, or maybe you need just take up Simone de Beauvoir's text and analyze the poem based on that. Okay, and you can also use the literary tools, the poetical tools, how the poem is being framed, what is the structure of the poem, how the words are arranged, and how the arrangement of the words itself talk about the resistance against thrust on sexuality, thrust on sexual behavior. Look at the way in which the words are arranged, the lines are arranged. All these things you need to note down, and you need to use that in your paper to analyze the work. Okay, and so that is about the methodology and organization that I have to say. And you have to, okay, one other small comment is that do a little bit more careful sort of proofreading. Make sure that you do it, that is freely available again, and even in Word or even in Google Sheets or Google Docs, you get this spelling and the grammar check. So do that too when you're presenting the paper. Okay. Anyway, congratulations. You have done such a vast work, bringing in all these data together. So go to the next step and make it into a proper research paper. Shall I say all the best, Anjali?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. I will definitely take the advice and be better next time.
Yeah, you are good. Nothing. I'm not saying that you're bad or anything. I'm saying that you can always be better.
Okay.
You can always be better. You have compiled such a lot of data. That itself is a very commendable achievement. And it will be, for if you put it anywhere, it is very interesting to read, and it will be a good read in any magazine too. If you take it in a class again, students will be captivated because you're talking about all these things. You're giving illustrations. You're showing how this sort of gross injustice is present in this world. So okay, and I hope you will go to the next step too. Okay, Anjali, all the
Yeah,
best.
ma'am. Sure, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am, for your valuable suggestions. Next, I call upon Shankar Narayanan EH of 5th semester BA English to present his paper on irony as a theme in R.K. Narayan's short story An Astrologer's Day, a brief analysis. Shankar, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Vidhu ma'am. Am I audible?
Yes, Shankar, you're audible.
Yes, you are audible.
Thank you. Respected teachers and my dear friends, good morning to one and all. I am Shankar Narayanan EH from 5th semester BA English, and the title of my paper is Irony as a Theme in R.K. Narayan's short story, An Astrologer's Day, a brief analysis. First of all, let me give a brief introduction. Irony, like in many of R.K. Narayan's other works, is an important theme in his short story, An Astrologer's Day. This paper looks at the nuances in the usage of irony showcased by R.K. Narayan in his work, An Astrologer's Day. The paper showcases how the various types of ironies make an impact in the selected work. The short story revolves around the life of an astrologer and how his life events transpired after an unfortunate incident. Irony, in simple terms, refers to instances of contrast between expectations and how things actually turn out to be. It also refers to a statement in which the meaning a speaker implies is different from the meaning that is expressed. Now, a few words on the author itself. An Astrologer's Day, R.K. Narayan's one of the most appreciated works, was published in the year 1947 in the collection entitled An Astrologer's Day and Other Stories. The author is known for setting his works in the fictional village of Malgudi, and his perspectives on the typical Indian middle class life was much critical. So, the plot of the story with which the theme of irony is to be analyzed is as follows. One day, Guru Nayak comes to meet the astrologer to make him share the details about his past. The astrologer successfully does the required task. Guru Nayak is stumped by the accuracy of the astrologer. The astrologer shared the story of how Guru Nayak had once escaped death and that the man who tried to kill him is now dead too. Why the astrologer was able to say those things was that he was the one who tried to kill Guru Nayak in the first place. R.K. Narayan has incorporated many types of irony, including irony of fate, situational irony, dramatic irony, and verbal irony into the work. The astrologer and Guru Nayak is revisiting past events in their life, and that too under completely different circumstances. Guru Nayak, in search of his supposed killer's whereabouts, accidentally stumbles upon the man, but is unable to recognize it's him sitting in front of him as the astrologer. The astrologer, on the other hand, has been trying hard to leave his past behind, and fate made him revisit the incident by bringing Guru Nayak in front of him. So there's evident irony in that situation. The term irony's history in English literature dates back to as early as the 16th century. The term is said to be originated from other languages like French, irony, and Latin, ironia. The root of all this can be seen in Iron, a Greek character who is especially known for his keenness in using irony. Coming back to the work, let's take a deeper look at the different types of the theme used in this work. So, the astrologer is now leading a simple life and appears to be moving away from his past mistakes. Ironically, the one man who he never thought would see again is there in front of him. Guru Nayak has been searching for the man who tried to kill him, and again, ironically, he doesn't even realize that he has finally found him. They are both entrapped in a twisted case of irony of fate. The situation is as such. We feel genuine empathy for both the characters and their current situations. Guru Nayak is struggling to find who wronged him, and there's room for sympathy on him. And the astrologer is also trying to move away from his previous wrongdoings. The above conversation has also triggered situational irony when the expected outcome was contradicted by the actual happenings. Here's a direct quote from the short story. "When shall I get at him?" said Guru Nayak. "In the next world. He died 4 months ago in a far-off town. You will never see any more of him," said the astrologer. So there's evident irony in that conversation too. They both are in a predicament. The reality they face and the expectations they have from the situation is so different. The sarcastic element just keeps on piling up, and the more we look into the situation, the more twisted the situation becomes. Fate played its part and brought the two people together, even though they both had very different perspectives on the meeting. Dramatic irony is also activated when the audience is made aware of the fact that the astrologer himself was the one who tried to kill Guru Nayak. The man is not aware of this twist in the tale, and therefore the situation is a perfect example of dramatic irony too. The list of ironies doesn't end with these two obvious examples. Verbal irony is another form of the theme used by the author in this short story. There are many instances of the characters saying one thing and meaning the opposite. This situation also arises in the conversation between the astrologer and Guru Nayak. Here's a direct quote from the short story itself. "He has escaped my hands. I hope at least he died as he deserved," said Guru Nayak. "Yes, he was crushed under a lorry," said astrologer. So there's verbal irony there. The astrologer had to quickly get rid of the man he never wished to see again, and hence he lied to the man, conveying that the one who tried to kill him is now dead too. R.K. Narayan used verbal irony to help both of them out of a tricky situation. The astrologer had to lie to keep his new life afloat, and Guru Nayak too gained from hearing the lie. In a way, the man's life mission has been to find the person who tried to kill him, and hearing these words from the astrologer meant that Guru Nayak could finally rest from the constant search. The author made the story as such that there exist two quite relevant points of view to any decision made in this work. The irony is that reality is far away for each of them. Guru Nayak's mind is at ease, even though his nemesis is in front of him. The astrologer had to make use of his newly found avatar, which he originally made to start a fresh life, to trick the same person whom he had wronged earlier in life. So that's a twisted case of irony there. All this is just another proof of the theme, impacting the short story as a whole. In conclusion, the three ironies used in the short story, An Astrologer's Day, has added another dimension to the whole work. Readers are made to think outside the box on the character's development. The curiosity factor in readers has also been elevated due to the disparity between the expected outcomes and the reality of the whole events. For a second, even the readers are confused by how the astrologer was able to make all these claims in Guru Nayak's life. R.K. Narayan wanted the readers to ponder hard before sympathizing with only one character in this short story. The author made sure that the readers were on the edge of their seats all along, and the suspense level didn't weaken at any point in the short story. He had the readers look at everyone's point of view in this matter, and that could have only been achieved through irony. This paper has been aimed at analyzing the ironic elements in this short story and has been successful in finding out the impact the theme made in readers' experience. R.K. Narayan's method of using irony has not only made the work compelling, but also made the readers realize that life itself is not linear. Life itself can be ironic, be it for the good or bad. The author introduced the lives of two people in the short story and shared how even a small instance of irony in life can have an impact on the way you've lived and the way you aspire to live. So, this was my take on irony in R.K. Narayan's An Astrologer's Day. If you have any questions, I will be happy to answer them now. Thank you.
Thank you, Shankar, for that beautiful presentation. Now I invite Betsy ma'am to voice her suggestions. Please, ma'am.
Yes, congratulations, Shankar. That's a good work.
Thank you.
You have analyzed the work and you have analyzed the short story well. You have gone through the various aspects of irony too. One question I want to ask is also about the bibliography.
Okay.
That is, you have used the term bibliography rather than works cited.
Oh,
Do you
okay.
know the difference between works cited and bibliography, Shankar?
In text citation and bibliography, I have a clearer idea. In text citation, it's done after it's cited, right there in the paragraph,
Yes.
and bibliography
Yes.
after everything, after the conclusion.
Is that works? That is not exactly the difference between bibliography and works cited. That is, if you have quoted something in the text, is that I don't know whether that is what you meant. If you have quoted something in the text, and if you are citing that particular text at the end, that is called works cited. Bibliography is a collection of works you have referred to. And usually for your project, it's always better to use works cited. Because you are not, when you are starting the project, maybe you can use a working bibliography. That is, you are collecting a number of works and you are jotting them, listing them together so that you will get an idea what these, the topic that you have taken is being, how that topic is being dealt with by many other authors. Okay. But later, once you finish your work, what you do is you write a works cited at the end of the work, where you particularly refer to the works which you have used in the text with quotation marks and page numbers. Clear?
Okay.
Okay, that is one thing. Yes, another thing is, okay, I'm very glad that you are the only one who has used the literary tool consistently and done a sort of a systematic study of it. You have used the term irony, you have made you have taken the various types of irony and you have applied it to the text as such and went through a systematic analysis of it, and that is very good. But then I would also like to ask you, where did you get all these details? Like you have used the Gale study guide, etc. And have you used these examples of your own, or did you just take it from these texts? Because if you have done quoting from the original text is okay, the primary text is okay, but when you are taking certain aspects like a particular example of irony from the Gale study guide or the stylistic devices of Chalaya, what happens is that you have to acknowledge the particular author and say that this person has pointed out that R.K. Narayan has a particular technique of irony which he has applied in this work, because otherwise it will be counted as plagiarism. That is one of the basic understandings of research ethics, which we do not, unless you know something, you won't be able to write that. You will just think that, okay, you are writing something from one place or the other, and that is okay, but that's not how it is. Again, that is why even for a PhD course, the UGC has made it compulsory that there should be a research ethics course, where they are being taught, in the PhD coursework, they are being taught how you have to take up the ideas from other books and how they are to be written and cited properly. Okay. So that is one thing. Another thing is that, okay, you have talked about so many different types of irony, situational irony, dramatic irony, irony of fate. Where did you get all these terms?
I read it from several articles in the internet, and I also had a. I also knew what this was, what Socratic irony was, what structural irony was, from learning from first year
Your
and all.
earlier learnings.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay,
So
that is good.
Okay.
That is good that you have all this information in your head. At the same time, when you're doing a research paper, what you have to do is that you have to find out. And that is what critical thinking is about too. That is, you know a lot of things, and that is why knowing a lot of things and using our common sense to understand those things are good. Maybe that is why Bernard Shaw had said that common sense is the most uncommon thing of all. Okay, and so we as educated, it's good that we have the common sense to understand things. But then when you reach the higher education level, what is more important is that you have to understand beyond common sense. And that is why we are here in a higher education institution. We need to understand that many of the common sense, many of the double quote unquote, common sense understandings of our social order, our society are not common sense at all. When we analyze it, when we understand it, we know that, okay, it is very much understood in our society, in our mainstream society, that transgender is somewhat not normal. Okay, Ale. But
Yes.
then actually we are learning in academia that that is normal, that those people too should be taken into account. So there are so many such things where when we learn a lot more about the realities of our experience, we learn that, oh, excuse. So that is what I had been saying. In education institutions, we are developing what is called critical thinking. And we have to question what our parents and our teachers and society at large had been telling us, how to live, how to breathe, how to look at your parents and say that maybe, okay, not saying it to their face, but our parents' generation might not be correct. Our teachers' generation might not be correct. We have to ask questions. We have to think and say, okay, this is what I think. I too might be correct or wrong, but still I have a right to say what I think. And you have a duty to take what I think, hear what I think and understand it, and then make a logical discussion about it before judging me. Rather than just telling me, that is how you are developing yourself and you are developing your confidence. So why I said that is because here you are taking up a lot of particular theories or particular terms concerning irony. And then when you're taking up these terms, you have studied these things, but you should now search who said this. Why did that person say this? Is this term called situational irony? Who was the one who used it first? Or even the term irony, who was the one who used it first? And that you have said already. You had said already, no?
Iron,
historical
Greek
analysis
character.
of irony. Yes, good, very good. So you had done that. And you have also analyzed situational irony, dramatic irony, irony of fate, etc. That you have done. So that might be done by somebody else too. So you have to find out who did it, maybe. Maybe you cannot find it out. It's
who
okay.
did it first, right? Who did it first? Who did it first, right?
That might not be very easy to find out. It would be better to find out who has classified the situational irony, dramatic irony, etc. If you combine these together and search in the net, maybe you might find some name or some book. So you can just say that maybe in this book, irony is defined or is classified like this. Like that. Then there can be also a sort of you are studying new criticism or
Yes.
modernism. Yes. So have you heard about a person called Cleanth Brooks? Cleanth Brooks? No.
It doesn't ring a bell.
No, don't worry. But still, now you can apply Cleanth Brooks' idea. Cleanth Brooks is somebody who had talked about how irony has been used in literature. how irony is being applied in literature. I will tell you the spelling: Cleanth. Cleanth. Cleanth Brooks. Brooks. Cleanth Brooks. So just search about Cleanth Brooks and irony, and you will understand how irony is being used in literature. What exactly does he mean by irony, and how this concept of irony. He also talks about different modes of irony, like tragic irony, self-irony, playful irony, arch irony, mocking irony, general irony, like that. So you have to understand these modes of irony, and you have also to understand how Brooks is talking about the importance of irony in any literary piece. So since you have used this term in your as the major term in your analysis, you have to know who talked very deeply about irony. And then I think in your work cited, other than bibliography, you can change it into work cited, and you can also add some more analytical works on R.K. Narayan, some critical works on R.K. Narayan. So that will give a greater breadth to analysis. So, and anyway, your work is very organized work, well organized work. I'm glad that you have done it. The only doubt I have is that you should, whether you have cited all the sources. That is, you shouldn't just cut and paste from any other book. If you have taken it from some place, you have to also say, I have taken this from this. Not directly like that, but as this person says so, you have to make a proper citation, and you have to put their names in the work cited with page numbers. According to the MLA. That is what Vinidam said in the beginning. You have to look at the MLA handbook and to think about how to cite articles and cite research papers. So, shall we wind up for today? I'm so glad to have listened to all of you, and this commendable venture of the English department and library. It is a very informative and enlightening session, I hope, for the listeners, because you all have heard so many very interesting ideas combined together, how irony has been put into R.K. Narayan, how the transgender and the gender performativity is applied in this world, and how Kamala Das is talking about gender, and how Lord's music is or can be connected to R.K. Narayan. All these are very interesting topics, and we should, I think it was Virginia Woolf who had said that when she went into the library, she felt that she did not know the tools of how to analyze literary texts because she did not get a formal education. But then now you people have a formal education, you should know the tools. You should also know how to think critically. Whatever information you get, you have to check, not just by what you have got, not just a collection of data, but having collected the data, you have to take up the data and apply critical thinking onto it. And that is how you make a research paper. So, shall I say thank you all? And
thank you, Betsy ma'am. Thank you, Betsy ma'am.
Thank you.
It was such a wonderful platform for all the budding presenters to be guided and mentored by an indomitable personality like Betsy ma'am. Next, let me call upon Ms. Meera CM, Assistant Professor of the Department of English, to deliver the vote of thanks. Ma'am, please.
Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible.
To everyone present here. First of all, it's a great privilege to propose the vote of thanks for this memorable occasion, because this is the first session of our research forum. So let me first of all, start by thanking our special guest of the day, the chair of our first session of our research forum, Dr. Betsy Paul Seam. Ma'am, thank you for spending your valuable time with us and enlightening us with so many research perspectives from your side. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Meera.
Thank you, ma'am. And also, I express my heartfelt thanks to Ms. Ansha Abdul Khadar, the program coordinator of the department, for when I discussed this idea of conducting a research forum, she was readily saying, yes, this is a very good idea, so that we can, we can help our students in building up their research aptitude. So thank you, Ansha ma'am. And also, thank you to all the well-wishers and everyone present here. And moreover, congratulations to all the paper presenters. You have done a very commendable job. You have done a very good work. And I know how much time you have spent behind this. So Shankar, Anjali and Maria, congratulations. You have done a very good presentation. Thank you everyone and all the students and teachers who have been there for spending your valuable time and making this session a wonderful one. Thank you.